There's no damage to the eye. So, he should heal up soon. And
Do you really think the heavyweight champion of the world is out there? He's going to fake something like this?
God.
The heavyweight division had already ground to a halt. Then Tom Aspinall suffered a devastating eye poke that would require surgery on both eyes, bringing everything to another complete standstill. Dana White pushed for a rapid return. Aspinall could barely see properly. What unfolded next was mounting frustration, uncertainty, and an escalating conflict at the highest levels of the UFC hierarchy. It all began on October 25, 2025, the evening when everything fell apart. On that date, 13,000 spectators filled the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi for what should have been the defining moment of a fresh chapter in UFC heavyweight history. The type of evening you boast about witnessing live. The caliber of bout the UFC had spent years constructing toward. Tom Aspinall, the undisputed UFC heavyweight king, was at long last entering the octagon to make his inaugural title defense. This fighter had demonstrated patience, enduring the sidelines while Jon Jones delayed, battled other opponents, and ultimately retired without ever granting Aspinall his deserved opportunity. Aspinall was promoted to undisputed champion in June 2025 following Jones's vacation, and UFC 321 was meant to be his moment to silence every detractor claiming the belt was simply given to him. His opponent was Ciryl Gane, the former interim title holder and world's top-ranked contender. Many had dismissed this fighter who'd been submitted by Jon Jones and defeated by Francis Ngannou. Yet Gane had fought back, accumulating victories, maintaining sharpness, and entering as a substantial underdog at plus 280 odds. This promised to be a striking clinic, a clash between British explosiveness and French technical precision. The heavyweight championship fight fans had been starved of for years, and for approximately 4.5 minutes, that's precisely what unfolded. Gane started aggressively with crisp jabs that immediately bloodied Aspinall's nose and dominated early exchanges. The Frenchman appeared possessed, sharp, composed, landing with surgical precision. He was disproving every skeptic in real time. Meanwhile, Aspinall executed his trademark style, landing effective leg kicks at perfect accuracy, throwing high kicks that narrowly missed, and unleashing a spinning body kick to the liver that demonstrated exactly why he finishes opponents faster than any heavyweight in history. The significant strike statistics revealed a genuinely competitive, genuinely electrifying contest. Aspinall connected on 27 of 39 attempts at 69%, while Gane landed 30 of 40 at 75%. Both fighters found their range, both landed cleanly. We witnessed two elite heavyweights trading at the sport's pinnacle, and everyone in that arena, everyone watching globally, understood we were witnessing something truly extraordinary. Then, at 4 minutes and 35 seconds of round 1, everything transformed. Gane threw a punch combination, his fingers extending directly into Aspinall's eyes, primarily the right eye. Though replays showed contact with both, blood immediately streamed from Aspinall's face before referee Jason Herzog stopped the action.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Jason Herzog has called a stop to this contest at 4 minutes, 35 seconds of the first round.
The announcement sent shockwaves throughout the arena, but what happened afterward truly established the tone for everything that would follow.
Guys, I just poked knuckle deep in the eyeball. What are you booing? What am I supposed to do about it? I can't see.
The crowd was booing their own heavyweight champion. A fighter who had just endured fingers driven into both eyes stood in the octagon, barely able to open them, defending himself to a hostile audience.
Listen, the fight was just getting going.
He was questioned about his vision.
I can hardly open my eye. He was fucking, look. Poke, both eyeballs.
That final statement carries different weight now, in retrospect, because what Tom Aspinall didn't realize in that moment, what none of us understood, was that he wasn't dealing with a standard eye poke. He wasn't confronting something that would resolve in a few days. He was facing an injury requiring surgery on both eyes, sidelining him for nearly a year, and igniting one of the most acrimonious disputes between a champion and his promotion in UFC history. The fight was officially declared a no contest due to accidental foul. Only the second time in UFC history a title bout ended that way. Aspinall kept his belt, but the belt was about to become his smallest concern. Within hours, the narrative was being crafted, not by Aspinall, not by Gane, but by the man who controls everything. Dana White approached the post-fight press conference podium and called it a great showing with a terrible conclusion. He praised Gane's performance extensively, noting many had written Gane off after his loss to Jon Jones, then delivered the words that would haunt Tom Aspinall for months. I can't force people to fight. You definitely can't make someone continue if they believe they've been injured. Only Tom knows what occurred. Could he see? Couldn't he see? Could he continue? Only he knows that. Consider that again. The UFC president, standing at a podium, was subtly questioning whether his own heavyweight champion truly couldn't continue, and that was merely the beginning. 12 days later, White appeared on the Joe Rogan show and delivered what he considered positive news.
That was devastating.
Right.
When you're main event, and it's heating up and it looks like it's
White described how devastating the conclusion was for everyone watching.
going to be a really good fight, and then it ends with an eye poke, and that's how the fight ends. It's brutal.
Then came the assessment that would age terribly in the Abu Dhabi heat.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, we haven't heard that there's anything. He doesn't have detached retina.
No detached retina. That was the major reassurance. That was Dana White telling the world to relax. It's minor.
There's no damage to the eye, so he should heal up soon, and we'll figure out when we can make the fight again.
With no damage to the eye, 5 words that became the official statement from combat sports' most powerful figure. He should recover quickly. Book the rematch, business as usual. Except it wasn't. The diagnosis nobody anticipated. In late November 2025, roughly 1 month after the fight, Tom Aspinall did something that completely changed the conversation overnight. He didn't post cryptic tweets. He didn't issue vague statements through his management. He published his complete medical documentation on social media and YouTube, the full report in black and white, for the entire world to examine, confirming a diagnosis almost nobody in the MMA community had encountered: significant traumatic bilateral Brown syndrome. For those unfamiliar, and there's no reason you would be, this is among those conditions most physicians never encounter in their entire careers. Brown syndrome is a rare ocular motility disorder affecting the superior oblique muscle and its tendon. That tendon is one of 6 muscles controlling eye movement, and when restricted, when it cannot glide through the pulley-like trochlear structure in your orbit as intended, your eye simply cannot elevate properly. It becomes trapped. You look up, one eye moves while the other remains stationary. Your brain receives conflicting images, and suddenly the world splits in half. Traumatic Brown syndrome specifically results from direct orbital injury, blunt force, penetration, the violent contact occurring when a 250-pound man drives fingers into your eye sockets. Bilateral involvement, meaning both eyes simultaneously affected, is vanishingly rare. Most ophthalmologists never encounter such cases, but that's exactly what Tom Aspinall was experiencing. Both eyes damaged simultaneously. Double vision in certain directions, particularly right and upward, restricted eye movement, substantial peripheral vision impairment, described as major field loss, and additionally, a minimally displaced fracture of the right medial orbital wall, the thin bone on his eye socket's inner side that likely worsened the tendon restriction. The world heavyweight champion could barely see straight. He couldn't drive, he couldn't train, he couldn't spar, he couldn't even play with his 3 sons, including his twins, without the world becoming a blurry, doubled mess of shapes and shadows. Remember, this occurred after Dana White announced to the world there was no eye damage. On December 1st, Aspinall broke his silence on the Ariel Helwani show, and when asked about White's comments, he spoke frankly. He expressed deep disappointment because White hadn't contacted him directly yet, was providing health updates when he had no understanding of the situation. He explained lacking a personal relationship with White. He communicates with UFC executive Hunter Campbell, not Dana, and the public minimization of his injury was, in his words, something that definitely didn't help matters. He addressed critics directly, those calling him a quitter. He said he stopped for valid reasons. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to fight one of the world's best strikers when I can't see. The logic was flawless. When it's a foul, why would I risk my health when I cannot see at all? But Dana White wouldn't let the criticism stand unchallenged. After UFC 323 on December 7th, he addressed the situation at the post-fight press conference.
And last one from me, Tom Aspinall did interviews recently saying that his eye is not better. He was a little bit disappointed with some comments you made. Have you spoke to Tom?
White was questioned directly, and here's what transpired.
Do you know anything about that, and what's your reaction to what he said?
I have not.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. He admitted not speaking to Aspinall directly.
Here's the thing. So obviously, and I know Tom said, I haven't even talked to him and all that stuff. But
And then came the defense.
we have people all over him right now, checking up on him, making sure he's good.
He insisted the UFC had personnel monitoring Aspinall, checking in with specialists available.
Does he need any help or, any specialists? Yeah, I'm no doctor. I'm just saying what I've heard. And that was in no way, it wasn't said in a way that they're like,
I'm no doctor. I'm just repeating what I've been told. That was his position. The man who told millions there was no eye damage was now claiming he was simply relaying information he'd received,
Oh, what do you think? I said, I think he's fine. It wasn't like that. I said, I think Tom's eyes are good.
And then the closer.
So, and I think the things can be taken out of context, or he didn't see what I said, because I don't even remember what I said, but
I don't recall what I said. That was Dana White's defense for comments his own champion described as harmful and disappointing.
never once did I say anything negative about him or, in a derogatory way. I'm sure he's upset and fired up, and, he'll get better. And
the problem was Aspinall wasn't recovering quickly. By December 29th, he confirmed needing multiple surgeries, the first shortly after Christmas, and a second in mid-January 2026. He described recovery as nightmarish, explaining eye injuries cannot be rushed like torn ACLs or broken hands. That's precisely what former middleweight champion Michael Bisping, who literally lost his right eye competing in this sport, who underwent multiple surgeries and cheated eye exams to continue fighting, warned about. If anyone on earth was uniquely qualified to address Tom Aspinall's situation, it was Bisping, and he spoke directly.
The UFC's heavyweight champion of the world, aka the baddest man on the planet, right?
Bisping stated plainly, this is the planet's most dangerous man, sidelined by something completely beyond his control. Not a torn ACL, not a broken hand. His eyes...
He's had double eye surgery, and this is a real shame. You saw the thumbnail, you saw the damage to the eyes, and I know a thing or two about this, so we're going to go through everything.
From someone who experienced it, lived it, fought through it, and eventually lost the battle with one eye, the message was clear. This wasn't something you could ice and ignore. This wasn't a scratch, and Bisping addressed skeptics too. People on Twitter calling it fake, calling it a scam, claiming Aspinall was exploiting it for attention or sponsorship deals.
You really think the heavyweight champion of the world is out there? He's going to fake something like this? He's going to put some, eye drops in his eyes and be playing a whole stunt? No, we all saw
the absurdity of it. The world heavyweight champion, a man who's knocked out nearly everyone he's fought, faking an eye injury for sympathy, Bisping rejected this completely, then zeroed in on the timeline, the aspect that truly emphasized how wrong Dana White's early assessment was.
It's that he got double poked in the eye. And now, as we say, here we are, 4 months later.
4 months, from no eye damage to multiple surgeries, that's the gap between what we were told and reality.
Not one, apparently he's had 2, right? And you can see the damage on the eyeballs.
2 surgeries, visible damage, and a champion still nowhere near cleared to compete. Bisping then addressed what should have been obvious to everyone pushing for a quick return. You cannot rush this. When you return too soon, complications arise. That warning targeted anyone, fans, promoters, keyboard warriors, expecting Aspinall to simply wrap up and return to the cage like nothing happened.
Anytime you go in there and drill or cut and slice and mess about with it, you weaken it.
Every surgery weakens tissue. Every procedure carries risk. And with eyes, the most delicate, most irreplaceable tools a fighter possesses, there's no margin for error. One mistake, one premature return, and you're not just losing a fight, you're losing sight permanently, but someone apparently missed that message. God forbid I mention it. January 25th, 2026, UFC 324 in Las Vegas, Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett headlining the card, and during the post-fight press conference, a reporter asked Dana White a straightforward question. Do you have updates on Tom Aspinall's eye and a potential rematch with Gain? What followed was the moment that transformed simmering frustration into all-out warfare. Oh Jesus, don't make me discuss Tom Aspinall's eye. Already, the eye roll, the exasperation. This is the UFC president being asked about his heavyweight champion's health.
apparently he's going in for a second surgery or just had it, and by surgery, I mean injections.
By surgery, I mean injections. That wasn't a mistake. That was a direct attack, publicly questioning the severity of a champion's medical procedures live at a press conference.
Get a quote from him. God forbid.
And there it was, the moment that broke the internet. God forbid I mention it. The president of the world's largest MMA promotion, acting as though caring about his champion's health was burdensome. Aspinall watched this clip the following morning.
Just before we go, there was a bit of post-press conference stuff. Just wanted to show you this as well.
He was sitting in his living room, eating crisps, catching criticism on a Sunday morning from a press conference about a card he wasn't involved with. But the one person who refused to let this pass, the one voice in MMA media who said aloud what everyone at home was thinking, was Ariel Helwani, one of the sport's most respected and influential journalists. Live on his show he processed it in real time, and his reaction
was scathing.
I mean, I don't know. If I'm Tom Aspinall, I don't know how to process that. I really don't.
In his voice, I really don't, carried the weight of everything wrong with this situation. A champion recovering from surgery, watching his own promoter treat his injury like a joke.
That is your heavyweight champion. That is one of the best and most popular fighters in
the world. And then Helwani dissected it piece by piece, the tone, the injections comment, the sarcasm, and reached the only reasonable conclusion.
Last I heard, he had a couple surgeries. Well, injections. Like the whole thing felt dismissive.
Dismissive.
That was the word. Not angry, not cruel, just dismissive. Like Aspinall's health was a minor inconvenience in the quarterly earnings report. Helwani wasn't finished. He put himself in Aspinall's position and asked the question that should have been obvious from the start.
All I've done is stepped up to the plate, and I got poked in the freaking eye. And you think I want to get injections for fun?
That question.
And it hung in the air like smoke after a knockout. Nobody chooses eye surgery recreationally. Nobody subjects themselves to months of double vision and medical appointments for attention.
Do you think Tom Aspinall is injections or not, surgery or not? Do you think he's doing this for fun?
Then Helwani delivered the final blow, the observation that cut through all the noise and drama and reached the heart of why this whole situation matters beyond the sport. See, that is someone's future and longevity, and you're just dismissing it like that. Someone's future, someone's ability to see, someone's ability to be a father, a husband, a functioning human being, let alone a professional cage fighter, and the response from the top was a sarcastic quip and a God forbid, as Aspinall publicly tried to laugh it off, but former UFC champion Aljamain Sterling defended him, posting, "I've been where Tom is now. It doesn't take much to show your fighters some grace, it costs nothing." And then came the proof that silenced every doubter who called him a faker, a milker, or a quitter. On February 10th, 2026, Tom Aspinall underwent surgery on both eyes at Optegra Eye Healthcare in London. Not injections, not some minor outpatient procedure you walk away from with a bandage and a bag of crisps. Surgery, full invasive operating room surgery, on both eyes simultaneously. The kind requiring a specialist team and recovery measured in months, not days. And one day later, just 24 hours after going under the knife, he shared an Instagram photo showing exactly what Dana White's injections looked like. Both eyes were severely bloodshot from corner to corner, bruised around the sockets, swollen shut, the type of image that makes you wince looking at your phone screen. Optegra released a statement reading, "Over recent months, we've been working closely with him on his recovery. Following his operation on both eyes, we continue the journey to get Tom's vision back to fighting fitness. Fighting fitness. Not perfect vision, not 20/20. Fighting fitness, which as Bisping explained means 2200 vision, still clinically classified as legally blind. That's the standard, that's what they're targeting. That's the best case scenario for the man supposed to be the planet's baddest, and that's where we stand today. The undisputed UFC heavyweight champion, a man holding the record for shortest average fight time in UFC history at 2 minutes and 18 seconds, a man who's earned 7 performance bonuses, tied for 4th most in UFC history, a man who knocked out Sergey Pavlovich in 69 seconds on 2 weeks' notice, then turned around and knocked out Curtis Blades in 60 seconds flat before his home crowd at Co-op Live in Manchester is recovering from double eye surgery because of an accidental foul in round 1 of a fight he was winning. The crowd was behind him, the heavyweight division already stalled for over 15 months, roughly 450 days, while Jon Jones delayed is frozen again. No rematch has been officially scheduled. No interim title fight has been announced. And the champion's relationship with the promotion supposed to build him into a global star has arguably never been more strained or publicly dysfunctional. And here's the part that gets lost in the noise, the detail that should keep Dana White awake at night. Tom Aspinall has just 3 fights remaining on his UFC contract. His father and coach Andy Aspinall has publicly advised against re-signing, pointing to better financial opportunities in boxing. And if you're wondering whether Dana White's handling of this entire situation, the dismissiveness, the injections comment, the God forbid I say something theatrics, might push another elite heavyweight out the door, the same way Francis Ngannou was eventually pushed out before him, you wouldn't be the only person asking that question, not by a long shot. From no eye damage to double eye surgery in 4 months, from he should recover soon, to a recovery timeline potentially stretching deep into the second half of 2026, possibly longer, from a champion who was eager and desperate to defend his belt, to a champion sitting in his living room on a Sunday morning, watching his own boss dismiss his injury on television while the world laughs along. This isn't just about eye pokes, this isn't just about heavyweight politics or promotional drama, This is about what happens when the sport's most powerful man decides your injury is an inconvenience to his calendar rather than a crisis for your career, and whether a champion can survive not just the damage to his eyes, which was devastating and real and required 2 surgeries, but the damage to the relationship that was supposed to protect him, support him, and promote him as the face of combat sport's most prestigious division. Tom Aspinall wants one thing: to get healthy and fight Cyril Gane again. Dana White wants one thing: for the heavyweight division to start generating revenue again. And right now, in this exact moment, those 2 goals happen to align, but the way they've gotten here, the doubt, the dismissals, the sarcasm, the silence, tells you everything you need to know about whose side the UFC is really on. And it's never been the fighters.